All right, what is good, ladies and gentlemen, is the Master Reviewer back again with another review, and today we're doing a review for Phineas and Ferb. This has been a, a long one to get through, and yeah, I'll give a bit of background before I begin. This is a show that I watched as a kid. Like, this is very much a Disney Channel show that you would just like see in the background when you were a kid. Like, you would never really watch the full thing in its entirety, but it would just be a show where it's like, as a kid, I'm sure most people, they would just like see some episodes here and there, but it was never like a show that you would watch all of it like all the way through. Like, you would never binge it. So this was me. Yeah, for this review I binged the entire series, and so I had seen like most of the episodes from seasons 1 to 4. I had seen before season 5 being a fairly new season, which just because the show got renewed for in 2025, I think season 5 came out, so those episodes were completely new to me. But yeah, all the previous ones there. So this is like very much another just pseudo rewatch where a lot of the previous episodes I'd seen, the newer ones less so. And yeah, so I did not, here I'll say this, I did not watch the movies, which I realized in hindsight I probably should have, because there's at least 2 episodes that do reference the movies. Like, I had seen the movies, I think, at some point in the past. I definitely remember I saw the Second Dimension movie, the new one, Candace vs. the Universe, I don't think I ever saw. So this is, yeah, I probably should have, like, I was debating, I was like, okay, how would this work? Like, would I release the reviews for the movies and then of it, like, as I would watch them in the course? But then, so it's like, the way it would release on the channel would be that I would have the movie reviews out and then I would get to the show review. And I thought, like, no, I'd rather do first the show review and then I'll get to watching the movies. But then, yeah, I should have probably done the movie reviews first, because there's like at least 2 episodes where it's like they're based on well, not exactly based on one of them, but like they do reference the movie. So I probably should have just watched the movies and then done the movie reviews first, and then eventually got to the show review as a whole. So yeah, I didn't do the season by season because this show, we'll just start off with the plot. This show is extremely formulaic. It's actually probably the most formulaic show that I have seen, and probably one of the most formulaic shows that exist out there, where basically every episode is pretty much the same thing. Like, there's some variety here and there with like a few experimental episodes of like different kind of stuff going on, but pretty much every single episode is basically Phineas and Ferb and the rest of their friends, Isabelle, Baljeet, Buford. They are all doing something that day in summer, spending their summertime creating some crazy invention, and Candace is trying to bust them, trying to show their mom what Phineas and Ferb are doing in order to, it's like partially to get them in trouble, but also like it is mentioned how it's like she just does genuinely care for their well-being, and a lot of stuff that Phineas and Ferb do make is genuinely dangerous, so part of it is her just like trying to look out for them. So yeah, but that happens. Meanwhile, Perry the Platypus, the pet of Phineas and Ferb, he is a secret agent that fights against Dr. Doofenshmirtz. And so, yeah, Dr. Doofenshmirtz is trying to take over the tri-state area. So basically, each episode is Phineas and Ferb. They with their friends, they make an invention. Candace tries to bust them. Perry fights Doofenshmirtz. Perry ends up managing to defeat Doofenshmirtz. And in the process, usually because of, I'm pretty much in every case, the events of like the fight between Perry and Doofenshmirtz it ends up being the cause of Phineas and Ferb's invention to disappear before Candace manages to show it to their mom. So that is pretty much just how everyone go. Their mom, I forgot her name even, Laura Fletcher, I'm pretty sure, something like that. Anyway, she says, okay, who wants pie, and then they go inside and eat. So yeah, that's pretty much every single episode of Phineas and Ferb. Obviously, like, there's some exceptions, there's like some different ones here and there, but pretty much as a whole, that is what every episode is. And in terms of the plot, I would say it's all right. It's like a 3 to 5. I do think that I'll say it now, probably the worst thing about the show is that it's extremely formulaic. Like, I do understand, like, this is definitely a show that, like, it works when you're younger, I think, because most people are not binging through the show in its entirety. Most people are just seeing episodes here and there. Again, this is like another hotel show where it's like you're at a hotel and then the show would be on Disney Channel just when you're watching cable. So this is definitely a show that, like, you watch some episodes here and there, but is not a show that really works when you just binge it in its entirety, because it is just extremely repetitive. So yeah, in terms of the worst thing, I'm going to give it to its formulaic, repetitive nature. I'm not going to be too harsh, because the show is designed to be very much the same thing over and over again. It's not trying to, like, it's going for this kind of style of show, but even so, it gets tiring for me when I'm binging it. So I would give it probably the formulaic nature. I'm just going to give it a 4.5. I'm going to say it's not good. I'm not going to be too harsh with it, because once again, this is supposed to be the nature of the show. So in terms of the characters, all the characters, they're like pretty one-dimensional. Like, there's not anything too interesting. Like, Phineas, Ferb, you don't really know too much about their personality, to be honest. Isabella, she's a fireside girl. She has a crush on Phineas. Buford and Baljeet, they have a bully nerd relationship kind of thing going on, and yeah, everyone just kind of hangs out. Candace is just obsessed with either busting Phineas and Ferb, or she, in the earlier seasons, she has a crush on Jeremy that eventually like develops into them actually dating. And then once you get to season 5, though, it does kind of feel like it reverts a bit back to how it was in the earlier seasons, where it feels like Candace is just, well, for one, they like barely even focus on Jeremy, because I think Jeremy's voice actor got recast, so they just like didn't want to use him as much, which I think was a shame, because one of the only real development that it felt like the show was getting was like Candace's relationship with Jeremy. It felt like, so the fact that in season 5 you get to there and then you just don't really have as much moments with them, it just, yeah, not the best, I would say. But Laura Fletcher, I think that's her name, and I forgot the dad's name. The dad's name is, I don't remember. Let me check real quick. I made a mistake. Her name is not Laura. Her name is Linda Fletcher and Lawrence Flynn. Yeah, so they are the parents of Phineas and Ferb, and they are fine. I don't really care for them too much, I would say. Perry he's good. He is just like, the fact that he doesn't talk, it does mean that you also just don't really know a lot about his personality too much. Doofenshmirtz, he's probably the deepest character in the entire show. He is also, I would say, probably my favorite character. I'm not going to do the character ranking after this review. I am going to probably wait until I watch the movies. And it did get me questioning on like what universe, not universe, but like there's certain movies, there's certain like shows that are connected to movies. I feel like I should go back and update the rankings for certain shows, specifically Peaky Blinders, where it's like I did the Peaky Blinder character ranking, but then there was the movie that came out, and to be honest, there's only like one new character that came out since then. But I do feel like I should still include him. So, but in that case, I might just do like a short. This is kind of a tangent, doesn't really have to do with this, but yeah, I do want to, like, in general, if there is a show connected to movies, I do want to try to group them together, like I did with Konosuba and Cowboy Bebop, as well as those are the only ones that come to mind. But if there is like movies that are, if I'm going to review movies, if there's something that's like all in the same universe, I do want to just include all of the characters in the character ranking. So I think Ted, once I do the Ted movie rankings, I think I'll also update the Ted ranking that I did, and I'll include them as well. So yeah, I think I might have to go back to, sorry, I'm thinking also maybe Sopranos I should update it for the Many Saints of Newark maybe. So I'm thinking, yeah, just there might be some materials that I go back and update. So anyway, but in terms of the characters, yeah, so Doofenshmirtz, he's great. I love his backstories. He's got like a lot of funny moments. His relationship with Vanessa, Perry the Platypus, it is all very good stuff, I would say, and he is a fantastic character. Francis, there's Major Monogram, aka Francis, and Carl the intern, who I think that they are also good, just the people that are like in charge of Alka, kind of, and the ones that give Perry his missions and stuff. They also got some good moments. Vanessa, Doofenshmirtz's daughter, I think that she is good as well. Monty Monogram is fine. He's the one that Vanessa is dating. Let me see here. Is there anyone else? Irving, I guess he's like another character that he kind of shows up in one of the later seasons. He's just another character, like a fanboy of Phineas and Ferb kind of, but he does get involved with some of the inventions here and there. So there's probably some more characters. I'll end up doing the character ranking, and then we'll get more in depth with it. But for now, for the characters, I'm just going to give like I'm just going to go like a 6 out of 10, honestly. Like a lot of the main ones are just like very basic, I would say. But as a whole, like, you know, there are certain characters that are better than others, I would say. So overall, we're just going to say 6 out of 10, above average. And yeah, in terms of Norm, by the way, Norm is another one. Norm the Robot, should want to mention him because the final episode of season 5 is about him. It's the Vendapocalypse. The Vendapocalypse, the musical, yeah, that one, which I think is also meant to be a reference to something that was in the Second Dimension movie, so another example of why I should have just reviewed the movies first. But anyway, in terms of the settings are basically the backyard of Phineas and Ferb, Dr. Doofenshmirtz's lair, Perry's kind of underground lair area that you see like once an episode, and I don't know, some other areas in Danville every now and then. The settings are, I would give probably, I go good. I'd say like a 6.5. It's good settings. I would say nothing like amazing. They go to space every now and then. It all looks fine. It's, you know, different dimensions here. There's actually a pretty big variety of areas. None of them are like the most memorable, but I would say that it all works. I would say so, just a 6.5. In terms of the visuals, I don't really like the art style that much. Like all the characters, they feel like, I don't know, the shapes of like their heads and stuff, with like Phineas's head being a triangle, Ferb's being like very cylindrical. I don't know, Candace's neck like I don't know, the proportions of like certain characters, like the proportions of them, like their faces and stuff, just feels a bit off. But the art style, it's fine. Not really, in terms of Disney Channel art styles, this is honestly on the lower end in my opinion. The visuals are all right, I would say. There's not any like extremely impressive visuals or anything, but overall I just go like a 5.5. I would say it was decent. There is actually, when you get to season 5, I do think at the start it feels pretty noticeable, where it's like I feel like the animation kind of changes a bit, where it does feel a bit more fluid, but it kind of feels a bit off-putting, to be honest. So I didn't really like that about season 5, but as season 5 went on, maybe I noticed it less so, or they just stopped using that like kind of more fluid animation. So not sure what was up with that, but anyway, in terms of the comedy I will give I'm thinking between like a 6 to a 6.5. I'm thinking between above average and good. I'll be generous. I'll give it 6.5. There were like some good moments, definitely, especially like from Doofenshmirtz. Not even from Doofenshmirtz, also Buford. There's a lot of like good one-liners from certain characters, and I think that there's definitely a lot of good lines here for just the scale of the show being as large as it is. You're definitely like, there's some good stuff, good lines here and there. So definitely a 6.5 for the comedy. In terms of the music, this show it's not like a musical, but there is definitely in pretty much almost every episode. I'm pretty sure there is music. The music I would say it varies. Like there's there's certain ones that are better than others, I would say. And so it's not very consistent. It definitely just depends on what the track is. But I would say as a whole, I would give it like I think on the high end, it can get to like maybe a 7.5 to an 8. On the low end, it's probably like below a 5, I would say, like in the negative territory. I'll give it like a 7. I'll say like a 7 out of 10 for the music. It's pretty good music as a whole. Honestly, no, I'm being a bit generous with that. I want to give it a bit lower. I'm going to give it a 6.5 because it does truly just vary. Like it depends on what the song is, and as a whole, I think it's good, but it really just certain ones are better than others, and certain ones just are definitely not as good, I would say. So in terms of the worst thing, I already said 4.5 for the formulaic nature. It is again a very formulaic show. You see one episode, the very first episode you watch it. If you're not immediately like hooked on it, like if you don't enjoy the first episode, that's basically just what you're going to get for the rest of the show. Like, it does not really evolve past the very first episode where, like, again, slight new characters get introduced and, like, there's some slight development here and there. But really just the very first episode of the show and, like, I'm not going to say the last episode. It's still an ongoing show, and the last episode of season 5, it's, like, kind of unique with the Vendetta. It's, like, one of those unique episodes where it's, like, it's not just Phineas and Ferb building something in their backyard. So... But the first episode and like the second to last of it, like the episodes are very similar the entire way through, and it is just, it's fine. It's for me personally, like when I'm watching it, especially since I was like doing a binge for it a lot. Like this show was the show that I've been like, I think I take the way I go about watching stuff now is like long shows that I'm reviewing. I watch them while I'm in my dorm in university, like in between like when I'm studying and stuff, and then when I'm at my house currently, that's when I watch more of the quick stuff, like the movies and like the short stuff, the short shows and stuff. So this has been, I've been watching this for a while, and it's just, I think I spent like, what's it been, like half a year now watching it. I think I started sometime around probably the beginning of 2026, and it is just a very, very formulaic show, very repetitive. So again, it's a show that you don't really watch all at once. It's a show that you watch episodes here and there, and definitely not one that you binge, I would say. So in terms of the best thing, I would say the best thing was probably all the Doofenshmirtz stuff. Honestly, Doofenshmirtz, he was my favorite character. I would give Doofenshmirtz as a character, I'd probably give him like, I don't know what I would give him specifically, but I'll say like the Doofenshmirtz plots. I'm not going to rate the character. I'm just going to say the Doofenshmirtz plots and a lot of the stuff related to Doofenshmirtz, I would give probably an 8 out of 10. I would say it was great, and definitely my favorite part of the show. I enjoyed it more so than the Phineas Ferb and the inventions that they do, or the Candace stuff, I would say. So definitely the Doofenshmirtz stuff, I would give an 8. And there's all these scores, so I'm going to do the calculations. So King Crimson. All right, so it ends up coming out to about a 6 out of 10, which would be above average. But honestly, I think I'd give it maybe a bit higher. I think that this show is pretty overrated. Like, people say that this is like one of the best shows on Disney. It's definitely not there, I would say. But I'd give it like if I'm being generous, I'd give it a 6.5. I think it might be like between a 6 to a 6.5. I think I will... I don't know. I'm not going to give a concrete score now. I would have to let it marinate. I'm just going to call it between a 6 to a 6.5. I think it's between above average and good. It is definitely, this is the longest show on Disney, like, not Disney Plus, but like Disney Channel, Disney XD, wherever it aired around the time that it was airing, I would say. So, definitely, I think it's a bit overrated. I definitely think there's a lot better stuff on Disney. This is like, in terms of Disney cartoons, this would be on the lower end, in my opinion. But, I would still say that it's between a 6 to a 6.5, between above average and good, I would say. So, that is pretty much all there is to it. So if you have any recommendations, any shows, movies... Oh, by the way, actually, before we end, I do want to give a big thanks for 92 subscribers. We did hit a new sub record, so once again, big thank you for 92 subscribers. Very much do appreciate all of the commenters, recommenders, subscribers, viewers, anyone that is interacting with the channel in any way, shape, or form. I greatly do appreciate it. And so, once again, big thanks for 92 subscribers. But with that said, that is pretty much all there is to it. So if you have any recommendations, any shows, movies, video game stories, anime, manga, web series, anything that you want me to review, leave it in the comments and I'll maybe possibly check it out. With that said, that is pretty much all there is to it, so let's leave it at that.